Yeah.
So actually, let's talk about this a little bit because I think all four of us probably deal with this to some extent or another. And if our listeners are living in 2020, they likely are too to some extent, which is whether you're a business owner or not, we are all glued to this thing and it sucks us in and it's addictive and it's also just like endless opportunities for comparison. And then when you're in our particular industry, it's like, mind boggling how many ways we can compare ourselves to others. So, can we talk about that?
So it's funny, as you were just talking and you said endless opportunities, I thought you were going to go with endless opportunities for like advertisement or, clients. And that's,
Which
see,
is
that's the
true.
thing. You're thinking endless opportunities to reach people,
Yeah.
but it's also, what you're not thinking about is endless opportunities for criticism, critique, and just feedback that you're like kind of hoping for it but also dreading it. It's a lot that you don't think about when you're putting it out there. It comes back at you.
Yeah.
It's a love-hate relationship, right?
Yeah, it's like you need it, but you don't want to need it.
Yes. That's
Like,
exactly it.
I mean, for me personally, and I know it, I shouldn't ever let it get to me, but like whenever I post something and then it doesn't get the reach or the engagement that I'm looking for, for like a few minutes, I am severely depressed. And then it pains me. And I'm like, okay, you're being ridiculous right now. Don't let it get to you. You do good work. And then you just got to kind of battle with yourself and get over that. But yeah, the endless comparison stuff, I think any artist, any coordinator, when they see other people doing, especially when they're doing like insane stuff, you're just like, why am I not doing that? Why am I not there yet? And then you start to get into this vicious cycle of doubt and really,
I think the other thing that's kind of crazy is that it it's almost like it only happened if you posted it, right? Like you're you are doing all these great things, but unless you have like this portfolio online of showcasing everything that you've done,
yeah,
like it's almost
If
like
it's not on social media, it never happened.
right, like, so clients or like, prospective clients are looking at it like, oh well, I don't know, that I didn't see this and I didn't see that. And and it's hard because you it this has never been a factor where, like, if you're good at your job, you are 100% focused on doing your job and like executing it and the final product showing that. But now it's like you're always thinking, well, did I post about it, or did I showcase this, and is everyone going to see how much effort I put in and how it turned out? And it's this whole other side. It's another full-time job added on to your full-time job if you're doing it right, as they say. So I feel like it's a back and
yeah,
forth
it's
tug of
tough.
war where you you don't want to you don't want to be feeding into it, but you also almost feel like you aren't accomplished if you don't feed into it.
Yeah,
Yeah, I get that. Um, I said before, we booked an event planner, and when we booked her, I said to Kate, like, I just booked my competition, you know, and I felt kind of scared, but she had reached out to me. My father passed away a few weeks ago, and I
I'm so
felt,
sorry.
thank you, but I felt like, on along those lines, I had been off of social media. I had been like not posting, not putting anything up, and I felt an obligation to go on and do this post that says, here's the reason I haven't been on social media.
yeah,
Like, I've been going through this time. And so she reached out, and looking at her page, I had not been posting, but I'm still on Instagram stalking people. So,
we all
so
are.
It's a
I
passive activity. You're just
yes. So, in my stalkings, I had seen like she's always on stories. Oh my gosh, she's putting like 2 posts up a day. And here I am wallowing like in my grief, and I'm not posting anything, and she's beating me. It was like this competition. She's beating me with her post. And the fact that she reached out, it took that, like, her reaching out to me to say, I offer my condolences. I was like, she's not my competition. We are colleagues. You know, isn't going through what I'm going through, and I'm not going through what she's going through. You guys mentioned you're nurses and you work in a hospital. I'm a nurse, so, and I do still work as a nurse. So I'm like,
Oh, nice.
you know, this is, thank you. So I only do a certain amount of weddings a year because I don't want to take on too many weddings because I want to be able to give my clients the attention that they need. And this is her
Right.
full-time thing, you know, so
Mhm.
she's obviously has, you know, the capacity to do more than I do because this is, you know, her one and only. So
Right.
it was just, I had to take that competition out of my head. I had to, you know, the comparison. You can't compare. It's not an apples to apples comparison. It's an apples to
Yeah.
oranges comparison. And we need to, as creatives, get out of that mindset of they're doing it this way, so I have to do it this way, or there's this formula, so I have to follow this formula. Like there's no formula. Set your own formula.
Mhm.
Right. We actually ended up having this in-depth conversation just about this not long ago about, you know, like kind of getting caught up in the social media thing. And it was weird because I was just like, you know, like I don't know what it is, but it doesn't bother me that like we don't have that much of a social media presence. Like, I mean, we try to have enough, but I think working in the hospital as a nurse, you feel very confident in your like interpersonal skills and like talking to people. And you know, I, like we said, we really like when we hear somebody else referred us, and you know, like the old school way. And I was
Mhm.
telling him, I'm like, I don't know, maybe it's just that like I know that I'm in a different like I'm in a different environment, right? So I'm talking to people every single day. I'm interacting with people, having personal conversations about their life and their family and this and this and that. And I feel confident that like in my conversations and interactions with them that like I still reach people, you know, like just
Mhm.
having random conversations like, oh, you're getting married and like, you know, or oh, you're starting a family, this and that. And so I feel like it takes a little bit of that pressure off because I still rely so heavily on my interpersonal skills, like talking to people and just connecting in that way and doing it wherever we kind of go. But you know, the world is changing and that you're seeing less and less of that. And so the only way to reach people is through social media nowadays, it seems, for a lot of people. And that's got to be so hard when your business is tied to it. Like, and like what you said, what you went through is so personal. It doesn't have anything to do with your business. Like you still were, you know, successful in doing everything that you needed to do for your actual job requirement, you know,
Yeah.
but it seems like you're failing because that's what we measure like a connection now, you
Right.
know.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yes.
So I mean, I
But at the
think
same time, it's for the people that do take it like personally. I can understand because it's like as a creative, you put in all your work, you spend all this time editing it, and you're just hoping people see it. And I could understand like when you don't get that the feedback that you were looking for, it's painful in a way.
Mhm.
And but it's really just as you said, like trying to build that mindset of making sure that it doesn't hurt you.
Mhm.
well, that's why I feel like things like this, like podcasts like this, where you're
Mhm.
talking to each
Yeah,
other and appreciating each other's work and work ethic, and you know, little things like that are so important. I know that more people have been doing workshops and you know things of that like, and it's I think that's so important for like people in the creative industry and the art
yeah,
industry. Like it's so necessary because otherwise you are just relying on that superficial feedback,
exactly.
you know.
Mhm. Okay, so let's go down this little rabbit hole then. We've talked a little bit about who your ideal clients are and who you're perfect for, and we've been talking about social media and the many pitfalls. One of the things that so I went off of Instagram for about a year and a half, I want to say. I did not post, and I am like a business page, and I was just like, I'm not
Right.
doing it. And people thought it was insane. And I did a lot of work in that year and a half. And that taught me that, oh, everyone is so convinced that like you do not exist if you're not on Instagram. But I'm not, that's not jiving with my actual experience.
Right.
To
That's great.
Ursa's point, like I'm meeting people in other ways. They're finding me through other channels, and I have something to contribute that isn't necessarily like a hashtag. Um,
Right.
Right. Exactly.
and so then coming back on the Instagram recently, I kind of like And I'm not saying that I'm doing it perfectly, because already I'm seeing how, like, oh yeah, I'm opening it up a lot and I'm doing this, which is not necessarily awesome, but my priorities have changed. I'm not looking for feedback from Instagram, because I know the feedback I'm giving on Instagram is not really real feedback. I'm scrolling and I'm double tapping and I'm moving along. I'm like, oh, that was pretty. Da, 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 da. That's not like quality feedback, you know?
Or
It's
when
like, I don't
someone-
even know, like, what am I even seeing? Whatever the algorithm is giving
when
me.
someone comments with the fire emoji, that doesn't mean
but you
that.
always get, well, like we post videos and he'll always get the comment, nice pic. And he
Yeah.
like,
I'm like, dude, it's not a picture. I reply, dude, it's not a picture. But
Right. It's like, okay, cool. It's a nice little,
Yeah.
endorphin hit, but is that real? I don't know.
yeah, or people, and the flip side too, people are just trying to like your stuff or my stuff just so that you look at their page. It's weird.
Yeah. But we come to rely on it for a weird sense of self. So,
I know.
yeah, it can definitely bring you down a dark hole when you start like kind of reflecting on it. I think everyone's been kind of lately, I'm at least the people that we talk to, kind of having that back and forth. Well, I don't think that we're alone. I think everyone's kind of, you know, wanting to be on social media but pulling back, or they've had bad experiences
Mhm.
and, or negative experiences, and kind of like taking a step back and then kind of jumping back in. And I think what you said is perfect. You have to kind of like, you come back on, but you have to find a balance, and it takes a little while to perfect it.
Different
But it's,
perception.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
for, I think it's everyone's own.
mhm.
I think we have to stop comparing comparing ourselves to what everyone's doing and trying to keep up, and focus more on like what's going to keep you happy and content.
Yeah.
Mhm.
See, but on a different note though, like I do a lot of ongoing trainings and like webinars, like wedding MBA and things like that. And everyone is telling you the same thing, like you need to be on social media. And now this new thing that I'm hearing, listening to all these different podcasts with celebrity event planners and things like that, and they're all talking about the know, like, and trust factor. So they're like your
Mhm.
patient or your patients, geez, in my nursing, your clients need to know, like, and trust you. So they're like, knowing you is how much they see you on social media. So if they see you post up all the time, they're familiar with you because you're constantly in their timeline and constantly on their stories. And then they're liking you once they have seen you enough. They develop a relationship where they're liking you, and now they're liking your pictures and they might comment. And they said, and there's a trust factor that you need to build up, which is the trust comes from them being able to trust that, hey, I'm listening to this podcast and they put out an episode every week on Wednesday. And, now I've kind of gotten into the routine where on Wednesday on my drive to work, I'm going to listen to this podcast. And then you go a couple weeks and it's what happened to this podcast, like they've disappeared. I haven't heard from them. And then a month later, oh, it's a random episode. So now you have broken that trust because you're not consistent anymore.
Mhm.
And so they were saying that's similar, along the lines with social media. Like, well, if you're not posting constantly, then your clients aren't going to trust you.
Mhm.
And for me, I'm like, well, that's a slap in the face, for people who don't. I mean, it's not that we're not working. It's not that we're not, posting because, oh, let's just break that trust. I don't know. It kind of gives you, it's an off-putting feeling to feel, like these people are only going to book me if they go through Instagram and see that I'm consistently on my feed.
Right.
And it's like,
I'm
our
gonna go
social
the
media should.
radical conspiracy theory route here.
Oh, no.
I was saying to him, I'm like, all this talk of like the algorithms and like you have to do this and you have to do that. And we've been watching all these like, documentaries on social media and stuff. And I was like, it's all such a mind game. I'm like, I feel like all they do is they change up the algorithm. So you're just trying to keep up with it and you're trying to find all
Yes.
these ways, and none of it actually works. Like it's probably just so random, like whether you get the exposure or you don't. I mean, like I'm sure there in the beginning there was, but like I feel like now even like social media is playing games with us. Like, everyone's trying to find the algorithm and like all that stuff.
Mhm.
But I'm like, you're just trying to like beat a system that's not beatable.
Exactly.
Hold on one second.
Huh.
Sorry, just